and so you did some stuff with Dorcas on looking at. Tell us what you've been doing for Dorcas.
Right on.
And you're with Vivid Epiphany, and that's EPIPHANY.
Yes.
Gosh, it's not. I always want to say Pith. It's Pith. Epiphany, yes. Vivid Epiphany, and she's got her information all over our website and at our fan page too. But I'm going to hand it over to you and tell us what you've been doing for her, because I think it's wonderful.
Fantastic. So, in the idea of makeover, we wanted to do a career search makeover for Dorcas, and I have a process for doing that with my clients, and it starts with, what do you want to create? And a lot of my clients come to me with a very good idea of what they don't want anymore. And so part of perhaps the longer work is figuring out what their vision really is. And that's where we are with Dorcas, is that what is it that she really does want to do? We look at what you have now, your resources and assets, and that was the assessment that we did. We then look at personal foundation. We assess the gap between what we have here and now, what we need to build on the foundation to get us to that vision, and then we build the strategy and action plan. So where I am with Dorcas at this point was we did one of the assessments in my arsenal, which is the human factors analysis, and that gives us 19 data points for self-awareness, management, communication, how she can motivate herself and how her managers can motivate her, how she processes information, her basis for decision making, and her primary role on a team. So we've got a lot of data points in this assessment.
That's kind of neat.
It is neat.
This is,
it really is
pretty comprehensive.
Is this what you would do for people that would come to you and ask this question?
This is one of the three things that I would do for them. So I also use StrengthsFinder and Extended Disc, which tells us some other things.
Somebody doesn't really know what they want to do. And they find themselves in a position. It's a good time to find out.
It's one of those things that helps you be self-aware, because a lot of people really don't understand what their strengths are. Companies use this. We model their top performers, and we use it in the hiring process.
So that's good. So if you come out with the numbers that they like, then you're that much ahead of the game too.
This one is the human factor analysis. So what type of person are you? How do you receive things?
How someone would manage more effectively for something they already have.
Right.
So Dorcas, I just handed this to her about an hour ago. What did you learn about yourself while you were taking from reading over the report?
I learned that I was as wonderful as I think I am. I love it when you say all that nice stuff about me.
She does.
No, I learned that that the job role, or how I do my job, is easier for me in the manager position because of the type of communicator that I am.
Right.
As far as being pretty direct and good with people. So that it's never been really a problem with me. And sometimes it sounds pretty abrasive, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. You have a more direct speaking style. That's one of the data points. And what that tells us is that for people who are like to hear, or very literal listeners, they'll love that. For people who are more inferential listeners, she may want to soften her tone a little bit. And so, again, that helps in the interview process, because you can figure out fairly quickly by the way people ask questions, whether they ask you directly what they really want to know or whether they're beating around the bush. And if they're bush beaters, then tone it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Don't be so mean. But also I learned that in how I receive things. So if my manager says to me, if she beats around the bush, I'm not going to pay any attention to her.
Yeah, it's really interesting how that works, because if I'm an inferential listener as well, so you can beat around the bush with me and I'll probably get it. You beat around the bush with Dorcas and you say something like, wow, it would be really nice if that poster was hanging over there. Dorcas would probably say, yeah, it would, and move on.
Yeah.
Whereas,
point.
Whereas if you want her to hang the poster over there, then you need to tell, hey, Dorcas, please hang the poster over there.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, and that would be good to know in managing her, but it's also good for her to know that when she's got somebody who's yapping away.
Yes.
Do they keep
Yapping
doing it?
away,
Then maybe
they're
that's
wasting their time.
yeah,
Yes,
and
that
and
she
if
can
an old guy
clarify.
to ask them, say, you know, what would
Yeah.
you think if I did that? They might say, oh, that would be great.
Right. So she can
Yeah.
at the point at which she's thinking to herself, why is it that they're saying all of this to me?
Yeah, why don't they just get to the point? though?
Right. That you can ask, what is it that you
I
want me
don't
to do?
think- I
Yeah.
don't find it offensive.
Right.
Being direct with me at all.
Right.
I find it offensive that you're not direct.
Yeah. What is it you want me to do? I like
Just
that.
say it already.
Yeah.
That's,
Anyway.
and that's being
Some people are not
quality,
like that.
that's being appropriately assertive too.
Well, it is being appropriately assertive, and it's also being aware and understanding that you've got a choice point now that you can act, whereas before you might not really have known what that was all about.
Right.
And they may
And now
say,
you do.
well, I don't
And
know.
now I do.
Yeah. So, what I really loved, and I wanted to highlight here, is that Dorcas is lucky enough that she's had some really good career experiences to draw from. You know, there are some clients come to me that have never had a good job experience, and that makes visioning what we want a little bit more challenging. Not impossible, just more challenging. So what I wanted her to do today was to talk a little bit about your great experience in your early days of Lancome and what you loved about working there.
I love that they, in the beginning, they being the company that I worked for and Lancome, the retail store and Lancome, that they allowed me to be very creative and do the job that they thought was a great job in the beginning. And I think what they had a problem is that they were changing, and they didn't feel that they could tell me that they're changing. Like the 50-year-olds that are all getting laid off, they didn't feel that I was going to be able to change with them. But anyway,
And
what I
maybe they
loved
made
about
that,
it, I
and
was
maybe
able
they
to-
made that assumption, or that she didn't infer when they were saying it. They didn't want to have to spell it out.
Very, very possible.
yeah.
When people deliver bad news, sometimes
They
they
don't,
don't
yeah.
deliver bad news. But there were some things that were
great
really
things.
striking to me about, you know, one of the things I remember you saying was how easy it was to sell a product that you loved, that you were
Oh,
sold
yeah.
on. So say more about that.
Okay. Well, I would say, I mean, I love that job because I love that company and I believe in it. So
You love
it was-
those products.
It's very easy for me to sell it because it works. Okay, and so it's easy for me to be real passionate about. And yes, I am good at that. The more the merrier.
Right.
The people wise. If it's only one customer, the busier I am, the better I am. In other words.
Right, and I also remember you saying what a passion you had for customer service, and that was one
Yeah.
of the things that may have been changing
It
in the
re-
role.
okay, that's- I'm
so,
sorry.
but you're old school about
Yeah.
customer service. So
Yeah,
talk
I am.
about what that means to you.
Well, that means that it's not the customer's always right, because I know that's not true, by the way. They're lying. No, that means that really taking care of the customer, and if they don't know what you're talking about, explain it to them. They don't know what you're talking about. They pretend they do, but also staying longer than you are supposed to. If somebody doesn't show up, that's customer service. You can't just leave them.
Lady, I gotta go.
and
It's my
things.
break.
Yeah.